The K-pop industry is a literal multi-billion-dollar machine. So what happens when a key piece of that machine, an artist at the absolute peak of his fame, decides to just walk away?
And let me be clear, this is not a rumor. This is a confirmed shockwave, and it's hitting the global music industry right now. A founding member of one of the biggest groups on the planet is terminating his contract, and his final day is just around the corner. And that's the big question on everyone's mind, isn't it? At the absolute height of his group's power with this massive global fan base, why leave? Well, to even begin to understand the answer, you've got to understand the man at the very center of this story. So first up, who is Mark Lee, and why does one person leaving a group cause such a massive, massive fallout?
It all really boils down to this number right here, 10. 10 years, a full decade dedicated to one company, SM Entertainment, and this one mega group. I mean, think about it. He joined as a teenager and literally grew into a global superstar right in front of the world's eyes.
And this timeline, it just lays it all out. It's a decade of pure dominance. He makes his official debut back in 2016, and that kicks off a period of just non-stop work. He even proves he can do it on his own with a solo album in 2025, and then boom, it all comes to an end on April 8th. And we're not talking about a slow fade out here. This is a full stop.
To get the void he's leaving behind, you have to realize he wasn't just a member. No way. He was the group's Swiss Army knife. He did everything. He was a founding member, their main rapper, a main dancer, a credited songwriter on some of their biggest hits, and the leader of one of their units. In K-pop, they have a term for this, an all-rounder. And honestly, he was the textbook definition of it. Now, to truly grasp just how important this guy was, we've got to quickly break down this concept called the subunit. So unlike a typical band you might be used to, the megagroup NCT is more like an umbrella for a bunch of smaller, distinct groups. The best way to think about it, it's like a big TV franchise with a ton of different spin-off shows. It's a really complex system, and Mark was right at the heart of it all. And here's the kicker. This is what made his role pretty much unheard of. He was a core, fixed member of not one, but two of these major subunits at the exact same time. Just try to imagine an actor starring in two different hit network dramas, filming them both at the same time all year long. The schedule was absolutely relentless, and that pressure is what cemented his reputation as a total workhorse. All right, so let's get into the official announcements, because this is where it gets interesting. We have two very different statements that, when you put them together, tell one complete story. You've got the corporate line, and then you've got the personal truth. First up, you've got the statement from the agency, SM Entertainment, and it's exactly what you'd expect. It's professional, it's respectful, very standard stuff. They make sure to say it was a mutual agreement that came after a long period of careful and thoughtful discussion. You know the drill. Very corporate, very clean. But then you get Mark's own words in this really raw, heartfelt letter he wrote to his fans. And this is where you can feel the story shift. He actually writes, quote, "I hope you believe me when I say I'm not doing this just for fun." He's making it crystal clear that this was a really difficult, deeply personal decision, not just some random whim. And right here, this is the core reason he gives for this massive life change. After 10 years, I want to dive into a more concrete version of myself. What he's really talking about is a search for identity. It's about finding his own voice, his own artistry, outside of the massive machine that he helped build from the ground up. So what happens to an empire when you pull out one of its foundational pillars? That is the multi-million, heck, the multi-billion-dollar question facing NCT right now. So on the surface, the company is saying, hey, business as usual. They're insisting the machine will just keep on running. NCT 127 will now officially be a 7-member group, and NCT Dream will carry on as 6. But let's be real, behind the scenes, you can't just yank an engine out of a car and expect it to drive the same way. The entire dynamic has fundamentally changed. And that difference is already being felt. Take this fan reaction, for example, which went totally viral. It points back to this recent moment where another member, Jisung, was seen crying on camera. At the time, nobody really knew why. But now, in hindsight, fans are connecting the dots. They're convinced he was crying because he knew this goodbye was coming. It's one of those small details that just reveals the huge emotional impact this is having not just on the fandom, but inside the group itself.
Okay, but this whole story is so much bigger than just one artist or one group. So for this last part, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. Why does this really matter?
Well, for one, it shines a massive spotlight on the super intense reality of the K-pop idol system. We're talking about a structure where huge companies recruit kids, sometimes as young as 12 years old, and put them through years of just grueling, nonstop training, all in the hopes that they might one day get to debut. So for Mark to step away after a full decade, it's a really powerful statement about the immense pressure and the human cost of that system.
And here it is. This is the real aha moment. This is not an isolated incident, not at all. It's actually part of a massive growing trend in the industry. We're seeing it everywhere. More and more top-tier stars are finishing their initial long-term contracts and choosing to go independent instead of re-signing with a corporate giant. What you're watching is a power shift where artists are starting to demand more control and creative freedom.
Which really leaves us with this one big provocative question. As more and more of these top-tier artists choose to walk away, it forces all of us to ask, is an artist's personal freedom, their own individual identity, worth more than being a key player in a multi-billion-dollar empire? Let us know what you think in the comments below.